Yo Dan, you ready for the new ThermalTake View 600 build? Not really, man. I'm kind of tired. Well, you better ThermalTake that attitude somewhere else because it's time to get into it. So this is the ThermalTake View 600 and it's available in 5 different colors. And we have the black one here and it has 4 tempered glass panels. We have the side panel, we have this panel right here, the front panel, and then another one over here. And the side glass panel, there are 2 screws at the top. So you remove this top panel and there's 2 screws removed and then it pops out. And then the back panel has 1 screw that you have to remove at the top. And then the front panel, you just kind of push to open and then push to close it. And then these just pop out. So you kind of got to take this piece out first and then you can just pop all of these panels off. So super easy to get all those off. And then the top panel has 2 captive screws. You loosen these 2 and then you can pull this back and then remove it. And there are 3 dust filters on it. We have a super easy one to remove on the bottom here. Then there's a removable one right here for side intake fans. So you take the panel off and then you can remove this dust filter. Then there's also a dust filter on the top, which I may remove because we're gonna have a radiator at the top and I don't wanna impede any airflow. So we might remove that. Then here is our top IO. We have a reset button, headphone jack, microphone jack, a really large power button, 2 USB 3.0 type A and a USB type C. And then there is an optional LCD kit that can go right here, but we unfortunately don't have that today. But if you saw the thumbnail, which I assume you did since you clicked on this video, I do have something really cool planned for this one that involves a screen, but it's not the one that ThermalTake makes. And then we have a bunch of intakes going all the way around right here. Excuse me, I should say we have a bunch of mesh going all the way around here so we can get a ton of fresh air into our bottom fans. And then here's for our side fans. And then if we take a look at the rear, motherboard's gonna sit right here. We've got ventilation for our rear fan. We've got our PCIe slot covers. And then I'm gonna have to experiment with this, but I believe you can rotate this so you can vertically mount your GPU. So that's gonna be pretty cool. And then our power supply is gonna sit horizontally down at the bottom. So interesting case. It is very long and it is very tall, but it is actually not very wide. So we do have a ton of options for builds in this, which you'll see once we get the panels off. So let's go ahead and do that and then take a peek at the inside. All right, so all of the panels are off and with them removed, we have a ton of working area in this case. You can see we have nothing stopping us on this side right here and we have full access to everything on the build. So building in this case should be very, very easy. So let's go ahead and talk about fan support. So you can fit up to 3 140mm fans on the bottom, on the side, and on the top. And then you can fit up to a 140mm fan on the rear. And then as far as radiator support, you can fit up to a 420mm radiator on the side and on the top, and then up to a 140mm on the rear. And this bottom bracket has to be removed in order to mount your bottom fans. So you're gonna remove this screw, then also this screw, and the bracket comes up, and then you mount your fans to it, and then you install it all in one piece. And then this side bracket could also be removed. It's got 1 screw at the top and you can take this out, mount your fans to it or your radiator and then put it back in. And then we do have this little panel down here, which can be removed as well. So we've got a screw right here and a screw right here. And if you're running 140mm fans, you do have to remove that bracket. And then the interesting thing is, let me grab this set of fans that I've got right here. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and mock these up right here for just a second. So 3 120 millimeter fans do fit with this bottom bracket in, but if we take a look at the rear, we're actually not able to screw in the top 2 holes for the fans. So all of these line up just fine, but we're not able to screw these in. So you technically can run these 3 120 millimeter fans with this bracket, but you won't be able to secure those 2 bolts at the top. So I thought that was really interesting. So you may just want to remove this if you're running 120 millimeter fans as well. So let's go ahead and put that to the side. And then the top bracket is also removable. We've got 1 screw right here. Then you can take this out and mount your fans or your radiator to it and then put it all in together. And then as far as motherboard support, you can fit up to eATX motherboards, and it will also support back connect motherboards, which is nice to see. And I think all new cases should have back connect support because more and more motherboards are coming out that are back connect. So that's awesome to see. And then we have these 2 grommets right here, which weren't pre-installed. They actually came on the side, but it just looks way cleaner with these in. So I went ahead and installed them, and they do look really nice. And my camera doesn't like to focus on anything that I wanted to. So we've got these installed. So you'll have to put those in if you do get this case because it comes on the side. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rear. We've got all of our top IO cables kind of bundled up right here with a twist tie. So we're gonna have to see about making those look as clean as possible. We do have a drive caddy right here. Then there's also one down here, which is gonna be hard to show on camera, but there's a drive caddy down there. So you can fit a lot of drives in this case. And then we do have a lot of tie down points for all of our cable management. They're kind of going all the way around the back. So you guys know me with cable management, and I'm gonna go absolutely crazy with it and make it look as clean as possible. So I will report back later with how that goes. And then our power supply is gonna sit horizontally down here. We do have a bracket, so we can remove this bracket, mount our power supply to it with these 4 screw holes, and then put it back in. So it looks like there's also a ton of room for cable management. We basically have all this area down here for all of our cables. And then this back section is pretty deep because it is back connect capable. So we do have to have enough room for all the connectors. So basically we have a good amount of room for cable management back here as well. So a decent amount of depth. Then let's talk about everything that it comes with. So like I said, these grommets were not pre-installed, they came on the side. It also comes with this GPU sag bracket. So this will install right here. And then it has these arms right here that can be adjusted up and down, and then also left and right. So depending on the length of your GPU, so let's say you have a shorter GPU, you can move these all the way to the left. So like that, and then it'll sit about right there. And then you can see the arms will support a smaller GPU. Or if you have a very long GPU, you can move these all the way to the right and then mount these right here. So depending on the size of your GPU, you can go ahead and move these up and down and left and right with whatever works. We have our bag of screws and everything needed to build in the case. And then we have these Velcro strips as well, which say ThermalTake on them, which is awesome. I always love when case manufacturers include these because these will be great for cable management. Then it also comes with this. So it looks like tape, but it's actually little Velcro strips, and this is gonna be hard to show on camera, but you can actually split them. So you can see where my finger is, you can split it right there. Then you have a ton of small Velcro strips. And you can see how big this thing is. So this is awesome. I've actually never seen this before. So I'm definitely gonna be utilizing this to make this build look as clean as possible. But guys, I think that does it for the outside and the inside of the case. So let's go ahead and jump into the build. Holy macaroni, gentlemen. This thing ended up being absolutely beastly, and I love the way that this turned out. Very big case, but looks so good. Especially with those SWA fans from ThermalTake, this build just looks absolutely incredible. And I've got the RGB set to a warm white, although with my lens, it may come across more as true white, but it's a very nice, dull, warm white, which I like, and I personally use on my main rig over there. But guys, this build looks fantastic. Get a couple close-ups here. It's mean looking, you know what I mean? Just has a certain look to it that just looks aggressive And you just know that this PC is an absolute monster. But let's go ahead and take off these panels, gentlemen, and then take a look at the inside. So let's talk about what's in the build first. So we've got one of my favorite CPUs ever made, the Ryzen 7800X3D, and that's being cooled by the ThermalTake TH420 V2 Ultra, and this is a 420mm AIO. And then I know on camera, the screen is kind of flickering right now, but that's just because of the FPS that I'm filming at, and it's causing some issues with the screen, but in person, the screen is not flickering at all, so I apologize for that. But we've currently got it set to show the CPU temperature, and it looks nice and clean and clear, and it looks great. We've got a Gigabyte Aorus B850 motherboard. We've got ThermalTake Tough RAM XG, and this is 32 gigabytes of 6000 megatransfers RAM. And I really like the RGB pattern with those little triangles in the middle. I think it looks kind of cool. And then for storage, we've got a WD Black SN850X. It's a Gen 4 NVMe. The GPU is a Gigabyte Aorus 5070 Ti Master, and it is a chunky boy, but for this case, I feel we needed a really big card because we have a ton of room, and then you can even see all the extra room we have, so you can fit some gigantic GPUs in this thing. Then all of the fans are the ThermalTake SWA-Fan EXs, and they're all 140 millimeters, and I have them set to around 650 RPM, so they're pushing some fantastic air, but also are dead silent. I can't even hear them at all with the panels off too. So great looking fans. And the cool thing about it is if you watch during the montage, you can actually swap out the blades. So they come with regular blades, but you can actually swap out the blades to make them reverse blade, which is really cool and I've never seen before. So you basically just pop out the regular blades and they give you 3 extra reverse blades, and then you can just slap those in. And then just in case you're doing it quite frequently, they actually give you some extra oil to lubricate them. So that's really cool, and I've never seen that before, and it works great. There's no extra noise from the fans. They just popped in and out. So really cool. I have never seen that before, and this is actually my first time using any ThermalTake components before, so this is all new for me. So really, really cool. So that's the front side of the build and everything going on. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rear. And then I just want to make sure my power cable doesn't come out. There we go. Okay, so here is the rear, guys, and the cable management came out absolutely insane. You can see we basically just got this one little bundle right here, this harness, and everything is tucked under there, really nice and clean. And then we've got everything going right here. CPU cables are going over that way. We've got all of our IO cables going up here. Our motherboard 24 pin pops out right there. Everything is all bundled up here. Then I end up using a bunch of those Velcro strips, which I think look really clean. And then GPU cable goes up under here. Then I also forgot to take off the top panel, so let me do that really quick, because there is a little trick that I like to do with my cable management. Let me put this down over here. So you can see I have all of the excess IO cabling up here. So I basically plugged everything in. If you saw in the montage, I plugged everything in and then I fed everything up through here, and then I tied it all right here. So rather than having all the slack right here, which can be a pain to cable manage, I have everything up here. And as you saw, the top panel fits with no issues. And this is a really common little trick that I like to use to make cable management even cleaner. So I've got everything up here. Then as you can see, for an end result, it looks fantastic. Cable management came out even better than I thought it was going to. And then for power, we're using the ThermalTake Tough Power TF3 1300 watt. So we've got a ton of power, which is a little bit overkill for my 5070 Ti, but this is what ThermalTake sent out and wanted me to show off. And so far it's working great. And one thing is, it's got one of the hugest power cables I've ever seen. So look at that monster right there. The brick is absolutely huge. It's just a gigantic square. So I thought that was kind of funny. But nice PSU. Cables are nice too. I don't really like this flat design for the cables, but it works well, and they actually look really good too. I just like when they're more loose. But you can see they do look good, but a lot of PSU manufacturers use this flat design. But it looks fantastic. So there is one more thing I want to show you with this that we'll get to in just a second. But a few things I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about the interior of the case. So first thing is I am using the GPU sag bracket, and it's going to be really hard to show, but I have it angled really far this way. I wanted to make it as discreet as possible, and you can barely see that little bracket right here. And I ended up not using the top part. I didn't really feel it was necessary, and I felt like that would have stuck out too much. So I've just got the bottom one in, and then even if I tap on this, like, that GPU is fully supported. So that's working great. And then this is sold separately, but they also have a PCIe 4.0 riser cable. And then you won't be able to use bottom fans, but there's actually screws down at the bottom, so you can screw in your own riser cable and then mount your GPU vertically. Because like I said earlier, you can rotate this panel and then you can mount your GPU vertically. So that's really cool. But let's go ahead and show you the little secret that I've got cooked up. So I went ahead and I removed the side fans and I installed the Corsair Xeneon Edge on the side. So which one do you guys prefer, the fans on the side, or do you like my little screen over there that's got a bunch of sensor information? I think either way looks cool, and right now we've got a bunch of reflections, so let's take off the panels and take a closer look. So we're still getting a little bit of reflections off the screen, but you can see I've got the time at the top, I've got CPU temp, GPU temp, CPU load, GPU load, and then DRAM frequency. And you can see the bottom fans are kind of reflecting off of it, but honestly, I think it still looks really cool. And there's plenty of room to have the screen over here. It looks like it fits absolutely perfect over there. So let me know down in the comments which one you guys prefer. Do you guys think the side fans look better, or do you think the screen looks better? All right guys, so let's go ahead and wrap up the video with my final thoughts. As far as the case, I like it a lot. It is really large, but on the other hand, there's so much room for cable management. There's so much room to build in it. With all of the panels taken off, it's really easy to access pretty much every single part of the case. And I honestly didn't run into a single hiccup during the entire build process. And then all the other ThermalTake components are working great. I really love the AIO. I think the screen looks great. Unfortunately, it's flickering on my camera, but it looks great in person. The fans are super cool, being able to swap out from regular blade to reverse blade. I think the RAM looks great. I do like the power supply. I think it's fantastic, and it's very, very overkill for what I'm using it for, but I think it's working great. Although I would improve the cables on it a little bit. They're just not my favorite style. They are quality cables. I just don't like those flat cables. They're just not my favorite. And overall, I just think everything looks great, and the end result for this build turned out absolutely fantastic. Go ahead and like the video, guys, if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Share it with a friend. Comment what you think down below, and then I'll see y'all in the next video.